Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Europa Rediviva. In the first year of the war in Ukraine, several American publications wrote a very interesting story. I think it was also published in Politico, which is American-owned. An idea that came from policy circles in Washington, and that kind of gave away the strategy that the U.S. has with regards to how the war in Ukraine should be supported. Of course, you have NATO that supports Ukraine, you have the European Union that supports NATO, but there is need for some other support layer, some other support structure from which Ukraine can draw people. Of course, both NATO and the European Union are not combatants to the war, they just supply weapons. So this story was that policy circles in Washington were circulating the idea of re-establishing the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. And they were advocating for this new political formation. If you unite Poland, Lithuania, and Ukraine, because the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth also contained the territories of most of present-day Ukraine. The other part was occupied by the Horde, by the Crimean Khanate. But the Americans saw this as a way to essentially create a political union that would be binding for the countries in this federation to help Ukraine with more than just the weapons and money. So the construction was that you would create a federation of Poland, Lithuania, and Ukraine, and maybe, for lack of a better term, you would give it this historical designation, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and then you would say, the Poland-Lithuanian Commonwealth is under attack. It's under attack in the Ukraine, so to say. So, of course, Poland and Lithuania must mobilize its citizenry, right, to go and fight for the Poland-Lithuanian Commonwealth, where in the Donbass, where it is attacked. This was the theoretical structure, in order to prevent the inexorable position when Ukraine will run out of manpower. So how to get another country into the war to supply the manpower for Ukraine, because weapons and money can always be found, but humans less so. And they wanted to plug this problem by putting Polish and Lithuanian men on the line, and the only way to convince them is to somehow subvertly put them into this structure, call it a country or whatever you want, where they might at some point feel compelled to do conscription in order to plug the holes in the defense of the third federal body, which would be Ukraine. This idea did not carry a lot of weight, so it was finally abandoned because the Poles are not exactly suicidal, even though they're very Russophobic, but they still regard themselves as being superior to the Ukrainians, in the sense that they treasure their lives more than they treasure the lives of the Ukrainians, and they did not play ball with this direction. In the end, this had to be dropped. The Poles also voted for a sovereigntist president. They refused to allow themselves to be vassalized by Brussels and to be used as a, let's say, reserve army for Ukraine, and slowly they even rejected hosting the military hub that transports the weapons into Ukraine, because they thought it would be dangerous. So when Russia decided to strike the logistics routes sending weapons to Ukraine, better not strike on Polish territory. This was their calculation. So there was this need for another country to fill in the gap. And this country was Romania, because it's the only other big neighbor that Ukraine has. Conveniently enough, it was also easier to convince because even though the whole operation was very transparent, the Romanians did not get it. So the Romanians are the proverbial frog that is boiled at a low temperature, and the temperature is increased gradually so that they don't notice and they don't jump out of the pot. And even though the Romanians had quite a lot of clues on the way with the annulment of the elections, the fact that there was this big outcry against sovereigntism, and it was equated with fascism, with all sorts of things, instead of seeing it for what it was. So basically to take the helm of the Romanian economy, of the Romanian military, and so on, and to steer them in the direction of national interest. No, the electorate preferred to go en masse to vote for the other direction, which was to be further integrated into this structure, which was baptized the Odessa Triangle. Why? Because the three countries that are part of it, Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine, somehow surround the Odessa region, or a part of the Odessa region. So it was baptized the Odessa Triangle. And this is the political formation. It's also made of three countries, just like the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth of the 21st century was imagined. And the country to be milked is Romania. This is the bigger country. Moldova acts as a bait. So Moldova is essentially the lure through which the Romanian public can be told that this help, this budgetary allocation, and this military integration, and so on, is in order to reunite with Moldova. So it is basically the bait to ensure compliance in the population, because there is a majority of the population of Romania which wants to unite with Moldova. And Ukraine was added to the pack. So, okay, you guys want to unite with Moldova? No worries, but you'll have to take Ukraine as well. Instead of uniting with Moldova, you will unite with Moldova and Ukraine. And you will be the main provider of this structure. And yeah, why not make it bigger? Why stop at Moldova? Why not unite with an even bigger country? And somehow it works. So Romania is on this path in which it is integrating more and more with Moldova and Ukraine. It is interconnecting its energy sector. It is building highways. There's a lot of talk in Romania because now there's massive austerity and there are cuts from everywhere except from some infrastructure programs. And all of those infrastructure programs, be them roads, be them power lines or whatever, they all lead into Ukraine and into the Odessa region of Ukraine. And they also involve interlinkages with Moldova. So they are touted as being public investments. They're not, however, labeled as public investments of the Odessa Triangle and for the Odessa Triangle. All sorts of things under all sorts of guises. Apparently, there's going to be a lot of tourism in the Odessa region, so this is why the utmost priority right now is to interconnect the road system of Moldova and Romania and Ukraine and so on. These are the guises that are found. And after a motion of no confidence, the Romanian government fell more than a month ago. And the new prime minister, the new designated prime minister, is from the Odessa region of Ukraine and has all the citizenships of the countries of the Odessa Triangle. So he was brought up in Ukraine, born in Ukraine, brought up in Ukraine, and subsequently he acquired Romanian citizenship and Moldovan citizenship. So he is the Odessa prime minister. He is the prime minister of the Odessa Triangle. Just like we have all of these public works done for the Odessa Triangle, now we will also have a prime minister of the Odessa Triangle and from the Odessa Triangle and for the Odessa Triangle. And apparently this is not very obvious for the majority of the Romanians. There is no public discussion about the fact that he also has Ukrainian citizenship, which he never gave up. There is no discussion that he fulfills no political role and no technocratic role, so he was appointed for this position, despite the fact that he is the president of a party which not only is not in parliament, but it did not even run in the elections. So he is the president of an extra parliamentary party which decided not to run in the elections, but just to place candidates on the list of another party, together with 2 other minor parties. So there was this pool of 4 parties which posted candidates on the list of one of them, which was not this party that the designated prime minister is the president of. And that party scored 2%. So if you divide 2% by 4, with generosity, you can say that the new prime minister, the new designated prime minister of Romania, received 0.5% of the votes of the electorate in the last parliamentary elections. So in terms of political representativity, it's obvious, there is none. In terms of technical prowess, because this is allegedly a technocratic government, he has a bachelor's degree in history. He's not an economist, he's not a specialist in some area of government. His technocratic role is just that of being a citizen of Ukraine, so being essentially the representative of Romania's patron, and having the citizenships of all the countries of the Odessa Triangle, so essentially being a true Odessian patriot. This is the new fatherland of the people from the 3 countries, Odessia, and he's the number 1 Odessian because he holds the citizenships of all 3 countries. He's the most representative in being Odessian. This is essentially his specialty. This is his technocratic ability, being from the Odessa region and functioning for the Odessa Triangle. Now, of course, the electorate probably does not regard him as a very popular option. The political parties in parliament, which would have to approve this cabinet, are also not very enthusiastic. The only ones who expressed outright rejection were the members of the party of the Hungarian minority, who pointed out the obvious, the fact that nowhere in this world was such a thing ever tried, so that it's a highly original solution, and they were wondering why would Romania approach such a direction to appoint a political prime minister who is the head of a completely insignificant party which is not even in parliament. So not a political government that is representative, not a technocratic government, but some sort of third way. And of course, they did not go so far as to say that this is the choice of the foreign patrons of Romania, but and the strategy to get this government into office is to have breakaways of various parties vote for him, and of course the party of the foreign agents, so the branch of Renew Europe in Romania, will probably keep their ministers in place, and of course they're the most enthusiastic about this government, which also represents their foreign patrons. And probably what will happen is that even though right now the chances of this government passing seem slim, I would wager that maybe some incident will occur, just like there was this other minority government right when COVID started. It had no chance of passing whatsoever, but because all of a sudden we had a huge crisis, a huge emergency, and some state of exception had to be enacted, then all of a sudden the parliamentary majority was found to ensure the majority for their instatement, for the swearing in of this cabinet, of this minority cabinet. So unless this very late designation, this very late nomination goes nowhere and is meant just to pave the way for early elections, which I doubt. So unless it's for this, then the only way to get this prime minister into office is for something to happen before his vote in parliament. Some external event that would catalyze the energies of the Odessa Triangle so as to mobilize their forces and to give a patriotic vote for Odessia and to basically install this government that represents nobody, with the large support of the members of parliament who would be too scared to vote otherwise because they would probably be deemed, I don't know, traitors or something, or Russian agents or so on. So let's see. I don't know if this will be the case, but in case it will happen like this, at least I recorded it and I said it first. So let's see if I will be proven right. I hope not, because the last time that this train of events happened was in 1937, the last elections, the last democratic election, or pseudo-democratic elections of interwar Romania. And in 1938 already in 1938, the designated prime minister came from the fourth party. That party was still a party that had passed the parliamentary threshold. It was a member of parliament, but still, it was not a majority government. And that was the last government, because from that point onwards, the royal dictatorship started. The prime minister became a puppet of the king. All political parties were outlawed, and from 1938 onwards, the long Romanian dictatorship began, which ended only in 1990. So let's hope that this is not the case, but such a solution reminds me of the last time Romania entered the war on the eastern flank, and I hope the parallel stops there. So I hope we will not see this scenario unfolding. This is what I wanted to tell you. If you like what I do, like, share, subscribe. If you wanna support me financially, you'll find the link in the channel description. And until next time, take care.